Well, good evening to all our brother and sister bums, and welcome to another episode of the Baseball Bums. I am Benny Scala, aka The Player. You may know me from that great adult film, I'm Holding My Own. And if we're bums, well, then I am joined by His Royal Highness of Hobo, the great Jimmy Farrow. Jimmy, how are you, my friend?
Highness of Hobo. Now you're back in the groove, Benny.
Yeah, back in the New York groove,
That's
right?
Little Ace Frehley there. Yep, definitely Highness of Hobo. That works for me.
All right, wait, I aims to please. So, Jimmy, tonight we're going to go back to our roots. We're going to do what we do best, which is absolutely nothing since we're bums, right? No, just kidding. No, I think what we're going to do tonight is actually groundbreaking. We're going to take a look at what are arguably the greatest four teams of all times, which are coincidentally all Yankee teams, and try to figure out which one is the greatest of them all. You want to give this a try?
Yeah, I can think of four off the top of my head. Is that what we're working with? It should be the 27, 39, 61, and 98 Yankees.
As Bill Clinton would say, you just read my mind. Yes, we're gonna do that. Those four teams and rank each one, with one being the best ranking and four being the worst. I'm going to be the official scorekeeper, and at the end, the team with the lowest number of points is the greatest team, as Santino Morella would say, for all the times. So, Jimmy, I have pen and paper in hand. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, so here we go. Let's do this. We're going to start with first base. So I'm going to read the stats, the player for each team each year, homers, ribbies, and batting average. And then what you're going to do is give me, the best, who you think the best at the position is number one, and then so on down the line. So 1927, New York Yankees, first base, Lou Gehrig, 47 homers, 173 ribbies, 373 average. That's ungodly, right? I mean,
that's ridiculous. That is, Mantle gets remembered more as the next great slugger after Babe. But if Lou had not gotten sick, Lou is going to have more career home runs than Mickey Mantle. I'm sorry.
And Lou, we're all the other guys would be chasing Lou's career ribby record.
Yep.
Easily.
Didn't he fall just shy of 2,000 or something ridiculous?
Yes.
Yeah, just ridiculous. He had like
he would have been about 2,500 had he stayed healthy.
Yeah.
Everybody was chasing him.
He was a machine. What was the batting average?
373.
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
47. Yeah.
Wow.
What would a season like that be worth today? Like a guy turning free agent?
No such thing. They don't make animals like this anymore. And the batting average especially. Come on. Teams are all hitting like garbage collectively.
Right.
Yeah, this is ridiculous stats. What a monster. Who's next?
Yep.
Who's 1939?
1939, actually, ironically, was Lou Gehrig's replacement when he, after he got sick, was Babe Dahlgren. 15 homers, 89 ribbies, 235,
Interesting. He was productive. You got to give him that. 89 RBIs is very good for any time period. Very good. The batting average baffles me, but this team was so powerful that he was probably hitting constantly with men on base. So at least he produced. Modest power. Okay. That's a decent season, and he's on one of the greatest teams of all time, so he obviously did his job, and 89 ribbies is 89 ribbies. So
nothing to sneeze at, right?
No, not at all. Not at all. Okay.
Now 1961. Yeah. I think this guy is very underrated. Bill Muscarin with 28 homers, 89 ribbies, 267, another 89 ribbies, hit for decent average.
Okay, that's better than Dahlgren. Pretty good. Pretty damn good year. Batting average was what again?
267. Not too bad.
Okay. All right. Serviceable. Lots of ribbies. Good power. Good power. Yeah. He doesn't get talked about too much. He probably should, right?
No, an unsung hero. Those Yankee teams, I think.
What? How many years with the Yankees? Like 7 years.
I don't know. I think he got traded to the Dodgers after that.
I'd like to think he was there at least 7 years for some reason.
He was there. I would agree with that without looking. Right. But then in 1998, you got Tino. Tino with a nice season, 28 homers, 123 ribbies, 281. Wow. That's a good season.
Yeah, no, that's a monster season. Even during the steroid era, 120 plus RBIs, good power. good average, right? What was that, 281?
281, yeah, solid.
Yeah. Yep, and very good in the field. We know that Tino was a really good first baseman, too. Tino was exactly what we needed. When Tino got here, we instantly won. Which is why it results in a plaque. You know, that he's one of those Yankees that are in Monument Park that sometimes I do scratch my head at when I see other Yankees like a Greg Nettles not having a plaque. We know about the Winfield problems, but he was a great Yankee. There's, now they're somebody's running around with A-Rod's number. Don't get me started with that, because I got my own opinions on that one. But Tino, don't forget who he replaced. We just pointed out Babe Dahlgren replacing Lou Gehrig, and it's not Lou Gehrig, but in the 80s, it was Donnie Baseball, and here comes Tino Martinez to replace Don Mattingly. Those are some mighty big shoes to fill, huh, Ben?
Right.
Those are mighty big shoes,
Oh
and
yeah,
right
and
away,
he slipped right into it.
yeah, right away, and he hits for power, and he hits for average, and he's solid in the field, and that resulted in his plaque because he had some monstrous seasons. I don't think this was his best season with the Yankees. Come to think of it, I think he might have had one season that was even more monstrous than this.
Okay, but
You
definitely,
know, yeah,
had a season for the ages there. So
yeah.
how do you rate these? Obviously, Garrick's number one.
To me, to me, it's pretty much a no-brainer. It kind of tells its own story through the numbers. Lou Gehrig is definitely number one. Tino is number two.
Yep,
He's clearly number two, and to me, Moose is three, and Babe is four.
yeah, yep. I got him the same way, exact same way.
Yeah, yeah, that
All
one
right.
pretty much speaks for itself. And I didn't think anybody was going to top Lou Gehrig. The 27 lineup had some real studs.
Yeah, you'll see Babe's stats coming up under outfielders. But let me too fast. Second base. Here we go. All right. So 27 Yankees for second base. What was his nickname? Push him up, Tony Lazzari.
Tony Lazzari.
18 homers. 18 homers, 102 ribbies, and a 309 batting average. Now, second baseman did not do that back then.
No, they didn't. Tony Lazzari was, and the 18 home runs. Got news for you. If your name's not Ruth Gehrig or maybe one or two other guys hanging around, that's monstrous. Frank Home Run Baker, who got the nickname Home Run before Babe came around, his total record for a season was 14 home runs. This guy's got 18 home runs, which I would take today at the second base position, to tell you the truth. If you can hit for, what was his batting average?
309.
Yeah, I'll take that. Wouldn't you take that year after year? You're going to knock in 100 runs, hit 18 home runs, and hit 300 at second base?
Play a solid second base? Hell yeah.
He's a no-brainer. That's why he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Yep. This team is loaded.
Here's another, I think, very underappreciated Yankee. 1939, Joe Gordon.
Oh,
28 homers, 111 ribbies, 284.
Right. Joe Gordon, Hall of Fame, had to wait. One of those that made you wonder why he had to wait. The Yankees have not done shit to recognize him. If you're not Lazzari, I believe that this is the next great second baseman in their history. So I don't understand how Joe Gordon has never gotten any flowers for it. I think he was there for 9 years with the Yankees, if I'm not mistaken. The war took away a chunk of his career, I believe. Joe Gordon, stud. I have some interesting thoughts so far on these first two. Go on. Who's next?
Well, it's 3 years later. 3 years later, Joe Gordon wins the MVP.
Yeah.
So I mean, the guy was a stud. I mean, solid every year MVP.
Yeah. Yep.
42.
He was great in the field, great hitter. And I just saw something on him where his family talked about how he was, in real life, and he never ever would talk about his baseball. He was not a braggart. They actually had to look into it to realize how talented Grandpa was, because he would never talk about it. He wasn't about that.
Just his job, right?
Yeah, and he turned out to be one of the greatest ball players in the look. He's in the Hall of Fame. They finally figured that one out.
Yeah,
solid. They finally figured it out.
Now in 61, and I mean these are modest stats, but Bobby Richardson, 3 homers, 49 ribbies, 261, but he did win a Gold Glove that year.
Well, Bobby Richardson was a 7-time All-Star, wasn't he?
Yes.
Understand the position that in those days was much different. and that the first two second basemen we reviewed were the exception to the norm. Bobby Richardson, it was prototypical light hitting, but clutch hitting. See, that's the whole thing, too. Numbers can not always tell the story. Bobby Richardson was clearly clutch. Wasn't he postseason like MVP type stuff?
I think for the 1962 World Series, he was the MVP.
That's what I'm getting at, you know. So the guy was super clutch. The guy was great in the field, and you're not a seven-time All-Star by accident. Uh, but I don't think that these numbers are going to come close to what we just talked about.
No. And this one surprised me, Jimmy. 98, you got Chuck Knobloch, 17,
Sure do.
60, 64, and 265. Not bad.
Not bad at all. You do not want Chuck Knobloch at the plate in the postseason during the 4 years he was a Yankee. He is going to injure you. Chuck Knobloch was always remembered for the boneheaded play that he made against the Indians, where he stood there arguing about a call while they were running around the bases. And of course, he got the yips towards the end. But what people don't seem to remember about Chuck Knobloch is that Chuck Knobloch was clutch. Anytime you needed a key postseason at bat, he would either get a walk or hit a home run. You know, Chuck Knobloch had power, and he would find it at the right time. And what I remember about Chuck Knobloch was 4 seasons with the Yankees, and all 4 years they got to the World Series. That's what I remember when Chuck Knobloch was a Yankee. He was a little shit stirrer. It's a shame we didn't get the 300 hitting Chuck Knobloch that we traded for, but what we did get was a leadoff guy that got 3 rings as a leadoff guy in 4 seasons.
Right.
You know, so he was pretty damn good. He really was. I thought he was really good and really clutch, and a scrappy little ball player that complemented all the other kinds of ball players that made up that amazing 98 team.
So how do you rate these guys, Jim? This is a tough one.
This is a tough one, and I'm not sure you'll agree. I'm not going, since we're only talking about these particular seasons, I'm not going by body of work impression, because we all know how this would probably be ranked if we're doing body of work impressions. Lazzeri would be first, but I'm not doing that here. I'm going to give it to Joe Gordon. I'm giving it to Joe Gordon for a little bit more production in the RBIs and a lot more power. So I have Joe Gordon first, as in my opinion. Then I would put Lazzeri. Then I would put Knobloch, and Bobby would be fourth. Knobloch just has too much offensive numbers there to ignore for me.
Man,
so your order might be different, Benny. What do you got?
No. I agree with you. And what I was thinking, when you were talking, is how rich is the Yankees' legacy when Bobby Richardson ranks 4th out of 4, and the guy was, I think the guy could have been, he could have been Bill Mazeroski if he hung around. He retired at the age of 30.
Yeah. Bobby Richardson could have been a Hall of Famer. If he had continued to play, he could have been like a 10-time All-Star. You can see that. And then you can see a Veterans Committee, because the writers are too goddamn smart anyway. You can see the Veterans Committee eventually going, hey, what about the guy with the rings and the MVP in the World Series and the 10-time All-Star, and he got 2,000 plus hits, or whatever.
Yeah, with all the gold gloves.
Yeah, how many did he have anyway?
I think he had, hang on.
He had a bunch.
We're going to find out.
Yeah, he had a bunch. I know he won more than one,
I'm going to guess 3, but let me see. Yeah. Bobby Richardson, 5 gold gloves. I take it back.
I knew it. I knew he had at least a handful.
8 All-Stars, 8 All-Star games, 5 gold gloves, 3 runs. 3 rings.
Look, he's one of the best second basemen of his time. We all know why Mazeroski's in. Mazeroski's in for one reason, for the home run.
Home run. Yep.
However, I will say this: defensively, Mazeroski would be in if we were just talking defensively. He turned the most double plays in the history of the game when he retired at his position. So you can't say that the guy did not, play.
No,
he played, But Mazeroski's in for that one reason, that one big swing, which makes me laugh because Joe Carter should be in. There's a guy who closed the World Series with a home run, and trust me, his career was way better than Bill Mazeroski.
Carter had a great career.
I think he's a Hall of Famer. I don't care about the 259 lifetime batting average. I think he knocked in 100 runs over 8 times or something stupid like that.
Well, this one we kind of already did. We looked at a couple of weeks ago. We looked at the great shortstops,
Okay.
Of all the Yankee teams, but we got 27
Right.
Mark Koenig, 3 homers, 62 ribbies, 285.
Good batting average.
Yeah, 39.
Good.
You got Frank Rossetti, 10 homers, 56, 233. 61, you got Tony Kubek, 8 homers, 46, and 276. Nice average. And of course, then you got 99. You got Jeter with 19, 84, and 324. So who's number 2?
Oh my God, this is rough. Well, obviously Jeter's number 1. I
Right.
mean, but look, this is a show, so we should just get this out of the way. Then, I mean, Derek Jeter would have fit in on any of these teams. By the way, can I point that out? The kind of baseball player Derek Jeter was, could translate in any generation of baseball team.
Derek Jeter is like Gunther in wrestling. You could put
Right.
Gunther in a
Yeah.
space warp and put him back to 1973 Mid-South, and he's their champion.
Well, think about it. If it's the dead ball era, what is Jeter doing? He's slapping the ball all over the place, and he's got speed. So he's going to have a ridiculous lifetime batting average. I mean, he already had a 300 plus lifetime batting average in his time. So in the dead ball era, he's probably hitting 340 to 350 or whatever lifetime. He's one of them, And then you go into the live ball era, Jeter would probably be a shortstop that was already hitting 20 home runs a season.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised. You could put him in any era. It doesn't matter. So he's clearly the greatest one on this list. So we got that out of the way.
I'm sorry, despite all his detractors, I thought he played a very good shortstop.
You know what? It's just people looking to find something because no one can stand when someone is just too good. And in Derek's case, is that the jealousy is there. You could just see it. People are looking for something to find, and we watched his entire career, and never once. We watched 20 years of him every game.
We did.
Never once did I fucking think to myself or call my friends up and go, "We got to get him off the shortstop. He's a liability."
Right. That conversation never happened.
Yeah. So what are you people grasping at straws for? Just face facts. I'm sorry he didn't play for your team, but and that he's a Yankee, and it's easy to hate on us. But he's one of the greatest players that ever fucking put a uniform on.
Right.
The end. He would have translated in any generation. All right. Now this is where it gets interesting because these other 3 are all. They're debatable, you could make a case for any one of them.
Yeah.
However, I'm going to make the case that I'm going to go with the 27 season. That is a really nice batting average with some really good production for a shortstop in 1927 with Koenig. That's, 62 ribbies and a 285 batting average. That's pretty damn good, I'm going to go with that because outside of Jeter, the other names on this list are not having a Jeter-esque looking statistical season. So I'm going to take the guy with the 62 ribbies and the 285 batting average at number 2. Number 3, and I've got a thing about batting averages, so I'm going to go to Tony Kubek. I'm going to pick, again, I'm not going by body of work because I've told you before that I feel that Rossetti is the 3rd greatest shortstop in Yankee history behind Rizzuto at 2 and Jeter at 1. But that's not what I'm going by. I'm going by what we should be going by, the seasons themselves. And that's why I've got Tony Kubek at number 3. That's a decent. That's a nice 276 batting average. He had a little pop and drove in some runs. And unfortunately, Rossetti with that 233, I have to put him at 4.
Yeah, he was kind of winding down by then because he was replaced by Rizzuto in a couple of years.
Shortly thereafter. Correct.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're moving along here. This is pretty good so far. All right. Third base. All right, so we got 1927. We got Joe Dugan with 2 homers, 43 ribbies, and 269 batting average. 1939. Here's another very underappreciated Yankee, in my opinion. Red Rolfe, 14 homers, 80 ribbies, 329 batting average.
Ooh.
Yeah. 61 Cleat Boyer, 61, 11, 55, and 224. And then in 1998, you got Scott Brocious with 1998 and 300. Nice season.
Wow. Oh boy. This is rough.
I think I know where you're going to go, and I think I'm going to agree with you, I think.
This is really, really rough. Oh, man. See, I'm torn right now between Brocious and Rolfe.
Right.
because I'm asking myself, do I want to? Oh, how many home runs for Red?
Red was 14 and 80. Brocious was 19 and 98.
Oh boy, this is real. You know what? I'm going to go with the 329 hitter.
Okay.
I'm going with the 329 hitter because when you're talking about someone having a season where their batting average is 329, there is a difference between a 300 hitter and a 329 hitter because you're talking the difference of basically what was Bernie Williams shy of 3 points at 300 for his career and Rod Carew. I'm talking batting average. You know what I
Right.
mean? That kind of hitting that year. If you're hitting 329, you're talking Rod Carew, you're talking Wade Boggs. Like that is a great batting average for that year. Plus the 80 RBIs, and he hit some home runs. I'm going to put him at 1. I'm going to put Brocious at 2. Oddly enough, Brocious was the World Series MVP in '98, if I'm not mistaken, Benny.
Yes.
Now comes the real dilemma between 3 and 4. You got a 224 batting average against what's the average for Dugan? Dugan?
269.
Ugh. Oh, this is. Do I really go for that 224 batting average? His production is better, right?
He's 1155. Dugan is 243.
And we know Boyer was a really good third base. I'm going to take Boyer. That one hurt.
You're going
I'm
to take
picking
Boyer?
I'm picking a 224 hitter, but I got to do it. I feel like he had a better production wise season, and I know that my father told me many stories of how good he was at third base.
Fleet was great. So we got saying Boyer 3, and you're saying Dugan 4, right?
Yeah. I can't go with the 2 home runs and 45 RBIs over what Boyer did offensively, even with that low batting average. And it's not like Dugan hit 300. You know what I mean?
Boyer he did not win a Gold Glove that season, but I believe he did win a couple.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're right about that.
All right,
I know his brother
now
Ken won a
we're gonna
truckload.
see some monster stats here.
We're flying through this, Benny. I don't know if it was supposed to go this fast. Oh boy.
It's well, yeah, we're doing all right time wise. We're doing all right. So left field.
Yeah.
These some heady numbers here. We got 27 Bob Musell, 8 homers, 103 ribbies, 337. And
Good
I
Lord.
believe he had 231 hits that season.
Bob Musell, the afterthought in Murderer's Row.
Now you got
Stud.
1939 George Selkirk, 21 homers, 101 ribbies, 306 average. Not too bad.
No, not too bad at all.
No. And this kind of surprised me. Yogi Berra was listed as the starting left fielder for the 61 Yankees.
Yep.
I guess he played more, Ellie played more behind the plate than he did. Yogi winding down his career, 22, 61, 271. Not bad for an older guy.
Uh-huh.
And then
you
got 98, you got Chad Curtis for 98, 10, 56, and 243.
Surprised that Chad Curtis was wasn't Rain still around at that point? Chili Davis, Strawberry?
They listed them all as bench because he had the most starts.
Interesting. I remember he hit a home run against the Braves the next year, didn't he, in the World Series?
I believe you're right.
Yeah, he was a pesky little. He's a real bastard in real life, though, from what I understand, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't sound like a good guy at all.
No.
You got Bob Musell. I mean, this guy, Murderer's Row is always remembered with Ruth and Garrick as it should be, but this was the other, besides Lazzari, 100 RBI guy. This guy hit for decent power, and the guy was a massive run producer, and I do believe he's in the Hall of Fame. I do believe he is. He had an over 300 lifetime batting average. I guess he's the quiet Beatle, if you will.
Yeah.
In Murderer's Row, but my God, a 337 average, right?
231 hits.
Ridiculous.
And that was a 154 game season.
Right. And 2 guys, as the Yankees just showed last year, do not make a championship team. So Murderer's Row, 2 do not make a row. So when you see that Murderer's Row was the nickname for the team, you can see why. because you had Ruth and you had Garrick, but you also had Lazzari, Hall of Famer, 100 plus ribbies, and Musial, Hall of Famer, 100 plus ribbies, and this really pesky bastard named Earl Combs. I can't wait till we get to his statistics because that guy was an average monster, batting
Yeah.
average monster. But Selkirk, it's funny. I don't really know that much about. Do you know what do you know of Selkirk? Because you talked about Scourin. Who the hell talks about Selkirk?
He's one of those guys like King Kong Keller.
Right,
Um,
right.
yeah, let me really quick. I'm gonna try to look him up here. George Selkirk, two-time All-Star, 5 World Series.
Okay.
Played for the Yankees for 9 seasons, from 34 to 42.
Okay.
And let's see.
So
Yeah,
he's there for
retired with
he's there for 36 through 39. He's there for all four of those.
He is there, and yeah, lifetime average 290. On base percentage 400. So he rarely struck out. Good contact hitter, good average hitter. Let me see.
Wow.
Yeah, did all right in the postseason. He was in 6 World Series in 9 seasons.
Wow.
So
He only played 9 seasons?
Yeah, he retired at, I'm not sure. He broke in late. He broke in at the age of 26, retired at 34.
That's strange. That is strange. To come in that late and then to just leave at 34. Well, glad we had him. Musial's got to be first, Benny.
Yeah, no doubt.
He's got to be. You got 231 hits, 100 plus ribbies, 337. Again, we go back. It's Rod Carew, it's Boggs. Those kind of batting averages, please. Selkirk's got to be 2, correct?
Yeah.
He's got to be. And you know what? This one actually happens in sequential order here because Yogi is 3rd. I'd rather have Yogi than fucking Chad Curtis. What are you kidding me? You know.
1, 2, 3, 4, right?
Yeah. That would definitely that would make the most sense to me. And look at Yogi still. Look at Yogi still hitting for. Look at Yogi still hitting for decent power.
Right.
He's in the outfield already, but he still had over 20 home runs.
3 with 3 catchers on the Yankees hit 20 plus home runs that season.
Was it Blanchard?
Yeah, Blanchard, Ellie, and Yogi.
Right.
Unreal. All right.
Yeah. Nice.
Next one's going to be, all right, center field. 1927. This was Earl Combs, 6 homers, 64 ribbies, 356 batting average.
There he is.
This is incredible. Going right down the line here, Joe D, 30 homers, 126 ribbies, 381 batting average.
Oh God.
Then you got Mickey in 61, 54, 128, 317. And then last but not least, Bernie in 98, 26, 97, and 339.
Oh my God.
Didn't he win the batting title that season, Jimmy?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he won the bat. Yep.
Wow.
Benny, do you realize what is happening here? As I look at this and you're reading this to me, I hate to go in reverse, but I have to put the guy who hit 356 at number 4. I can't believe I'm doing that, but I am doing that for a couple of reasons. I'll go back to sequential order. The number 1 on this, and by the way, this is ridiculous. Of all the positions we've done so far, this is ridiculous. These stats.
These are otherworldly stats.
This is ridiculous. We didn't have this kind of oh my God, look at these numbers for all 4 generations of world champions. This is insane. But I have to make number 1 Jolton Joe DiMaggio.
Oh yeah.
How can you not? What is
MVP
that? What is that 381 thing going on there? What is that? What is that?
It's ridiculous.
How many RBIs?
126.
How many home runs?
30.
So, oh my God, 381 with, and we all know how he played center field. By the way, this is a young Joe DiMaggio. This is a season 4 Joe DiMaggio that's had 3 years of Lou Gehrig to learn under, and oh my God, this team, this 39
and by
team,
the way,
I can
Jimmy,
see why. Yeah.
In 524 plate appearances, struck out 20 times.
Right. And that's all they do now. I just saw a video with Pete Rose, rest his soul, where he said half these guys today, these power hitters, they're all swinging from their heels, and when they strike out, they basically fall down. He's like, that's not hitting. That's not hitting. What did you just say? 20 strikeouts and 500 plus at bats. That's hitting.
Yeah, 20
381.
Ks for the whole season.
381. You've got the whole world looking at you because you're Joe DiMaggio, and you're on the biggest team in the biggest sport in the country. You got all that pressure, and you hit 381.
That was his first MVP, first of 3 MVPs.
It's an insane season. Yeah, he's one. Mickey is two. Mickey is number
Yeah,
two.
you got to go with Mickey too.
I have to. It's 54 home runs and all those RBIs. And what was the batting average that year for him, Ben?
317. And I mean, if you look at his and Roger Maris's stats side by side, I think you vote. I think Mickey wins the MVP.
Right. I'll agree with that. I think we'll get to Maris in a second, but
yeah,
I agree with that. I have to put Mantle at 2. I have to. I am putting Bernie at 3 for multiple reasons. Even though that 356 average is screaming at me, I can live with the trade-off if you're telling me that Bernie Williams is going to hit 339, 17 points short of Combs, have all that power. By the way, Bernie hit cleanup most of the time, didn't he?
Yeah.
Have all that power and that RBI production. Yeah, I'm going to pick
play a great center field besides.
Oh, we all know that he was as smooth as they came. I'm going to give Bernie number 3 spot, and I cannot believe that the center field position is so stacked at a 356 hitter.
Yeah.
And Earl Combs is going to be 4th here, but he doesn't have the production that the other 3 obviously have. And Bernie's 339 plus a batting title that year. That's good enough for me.
All right, got some not quite so well. I don't know. So right field,
yeah,
looks kind of similar. You got Babe Ruth, 60 homers, 165 RBIs, and a 356 batting average. Now, all right.
Wait. What was your batting average?
356.
You got to be kidding me with that kind of power to run.
All right, now here's all right. 165 ribbies and 356, and he didn't lead his team in either category. Right? How is that? Like that. That's like
murderer's row, huh?
That's like a whole team's worth of numbers there.
Yeah.
So you got in 39, you got Charlie Keller, another like very to me underappreciated Yankee. 11 homers, 83 ribbies, 334.
334.
Yep.
By the way, that's a quiet year for Keller, if I'm not mistaken. He had some monster seasons.
Keller was great ball player. 61, of course, Roger. 61, 141, 269. Jimmy, I swear, because I lived on 142 Intervale Avenue in Farmingdale, I swear that Roger had 142 ribbies. Somewhere along the way, he lost a ribby.
Well, he lost his hair, too. Give the guy a break.
Yeah, that too, but he lost his hair and a ribby.
Yeah. Well, at least he had cigarettes to wash it down with.
He did, and he had his beer distributorship.
Yeah. I was lucky enough to be there when they retired Roger's number, by the way.
Class Yankee, though. Class act.
Yeah, very private guy. Went through a lot of shit that he was just a good old country boy. He didn't really want any of that attention.
Goes to the Cardinals, and they win 2 pennants.
Yeah, because he was a good ball player. That's really what he was. I mean, the guy could hit for power, and he had a good glove, and he was good in the clubhouse. So he's just a perfect teammate, He's the perfect teammate.
Well, and we can't leave Paul O'Neill out because, very quietly in 1998, O'Neill hits 24 homers, 116 ribbies, 317.
There it is.
I mean, that's like an MVP season right there.
Paul O'Neill has the tale of 2 careers. As a Red, he was a world champion, and he was a solid ball player. He was a nice ball player. As a Yankee for his 9-year career, if he could have done that for his entire career, because his 9 years as a Yankee, he's a Hall of Famer. He was a 300 plus hitter, 100 RBI guy a year with about 20 home runs. And what gets forgotten is that everybody knows how hard he played, but Didn't his final year, when he decided to retire because he couldn't live up to his own standards, he hit 20 home runs and stole 20 bases in his final year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Paul O'Neill for you.
And the guy came to play every day.
Yeah, he did. He was one of the most important Yankees during that dynasty because you
Oh,
got to
yeah.
have guys like that. You got to have guys like that. The two most fiery guys in the locker room, from what I understand, were Posada, as the catcher should be, and O'Neill. Those were the guys that were like, would get vocal, would get loud about things if they thought something was wrong to fix it. That was a very special team made up of all sorts of different kinds of personalities, that 98 team.
Right.
Well,
Yeah,
this is a plethora of riches, isn't it? You got to go with Babe. I'm
yes.
going with Babe.
Yeah, you got to go with Babe.
How do you not go with Babe? 60 home runs, 165 RBIs with that batting average? 356? No, that's bad. This one's Babe, number one. Number two seems pretty obvious. It's Roger, isn't it?
Yeah, you got to go with Roger.
Yeah, it's Roger.
MVP.
Yeah. Oddly enough, though, what we're learning here right now is that Roger Maris breaking Babe Ruth's record did not mean that Roger Maris had a better year than Babe Ruth had in 1927 when he hit the 60.
Oh, God, not even close.
No, not at all. Not at all. See, it's the batting average that separates Babe Ruth from a lot of the power hitters that came later, period. Hitting for that kind of average is just ridiculous. Number three, I'm going with Paul O'Neill.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
This one's pretty cut and dry, right? I mean, that's it. What was King Kong's batting average that year? It's pretty damn good.
334. Not
fun.
bad.
Look, you realize that we just put a center fielder with a 356 batting average at the fourth spot. And now we're putting a right fielder with a 334 batting average at the fourth spot.
Right.
And people wonder why this franchise has so many championships. What's there to wonder about?
And even O'Neill's season, it's an MVP season. And
of course it is. It's a killer season. And honestly, Keller season is killer too. Who wouldn't pencil in for a guy that? How many RBIs, please, for Keller that year?
83. I don't think he played the whole.
How would you not pencil? Any team would pencil in for a right fielder that's going to knock in 80 plus RBIs and hit 334.
Let me hang on 1 second. Let me.
How many home runs did King Kong Keller have? I'm interested in his body of work. Yeah, I know he had some monster seasons for the Yankees. I know he did.
Charlie Keller,
didn't get that
5 World Series. Okay, so he was with the Yankees 11 seasons.
Okay.
189 homers, 760 ribbies, and lifetime 289 average. So his best seasons in 1941, he hit 33 homers, 122 ribbies, 298. Yeah, that's some good seasons.
Yeah. He was a stud. My father used to talk about him. He was,
and that was his rookie season. And here's the other metric, Jimmy. He only played in 111 games, and he drove in those 83 runs.
So if you prorated, he probably would have wound up with 17 or 18 home runs, 100 ribbies, and the batting average could have either gone up or down.
He probably could have been I'm saying about 16, 110 as far as the ribbies. Yeah.
And either way, he's going to wind up hitting 300 for the season. So,
his on base,
and that's our fourth option.
Right. His OBP that season was 447. That's
my God,
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's got a great eye on top of it. He's got a great eye.
Well, the outfield was definitely productive. Let's see what we got behind the plate here. All right.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we got Pat Collins for 27, 736, 275. Good average. 39, you got Bill Dickey, 24, 105, 302. And then you got 61, you got Ellie with 21 homers, 77 ribbies, 348. 348 catcher. And 98, you got Jorge Posada with 17, 63, 268. Solid season.
Yeah, because Georgie's just getting started.
Right, right,
I think he played in like I'm going to take a guess, but I think in '98 Georgie played like maybe 111 games. He's just
right.
getting, just because Girardi is still there, right?
Yes.
So Georgie's starting to get the work share of the load, but he's not full time yet. He really gets full time in 2000 and on. I always was glad that he finally got the position all to himself. As much as I like Joe Girardi, I was like, just give it to the kid already. You could tell that Georgie Posada was going to make it from day one, and I love the fact that he was a switch hitter, and I could also tell that he was very fiery, and that's what you want in a catcher. This is again like a plethora of riches. Pat, it's weird with the 27 Yankees that you'd think that the catcher would have been a stud, right? But the Yankees weren't ready to have their lineage yet because, of course, in '39 that's the beginning of the real Yankee lineage of great catchers with Dickey, correct? So very light hitting guy, but hey. 275 hitting at the bottom of the order is actually pretty good because I'm sure that other teams
Oh,
had
not bad at
220.
all.
Yeah, I'm sure they were rolling out 220 hitters, at the bottom of their lineups back in 1927. Uh, Man, I got to go with Dickey. I'm going with Dickey. Uh, for I guess for obvious reasons, the most power, the most run protection, plus the 300 batting average, and it's Bill fucking Dickey. You know what I mean? Uh, I, I think we've talked about it in the past that Yogi is the all-time greatest Yankee catcher, but it's debatable when you have Bill Dickey, right, Ben?
Oh yeah, no, Dickey and another one that you don't really. I mean, obviously, when you mention the great legacy of Yankee catchers, he's always included, but you don't really hear a lot about him.
Well, to me, he's the second greatest Yankee catcher in that lineage. And
Right.
yes, I'm saying it. Bill Dickey had a greater career than Thurman. He did. Bill Dickey what was his lifetime average? I want to say 313, something
Uh,
like that.
we
Like
can
Bill
look
Dickey
that
was
up.
a high average, high power hitting catcher, high RBI production. He was the first great catcher. I know he's got more rings than Thurman. That's for shit sure. um, yeah,
He's got 8 rings. He is a
yeah.
lifetime 313 hitter. You nailed it.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And he cleared 200 home runs in his career, or no?
202.
There you go. Yep.
Oh, right at 1,969 hits,
Yeah.
1,209 ribbies.
Nice.
But there
Nice.
was a stretch. Let's see, from 36.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, 36 through 39, right?
Uh huh. Yeah.
107, 133,
He-
115, and 105 ribbies.
Come on. He's a
Over
cornerstone.
300 every year.
He's a cornerstone. Period. He's one of the greatest freaking Yankees. I mean, the number is retired, right? I
Well,
mean, at least there's that. But
look at
Hall of Fame.
in 1936, Jim. He's at 22, 107,
Mm-hmm.
362. Catcher hitting 362.
Yeah, no, no, it's just ridiculous. And the young generation that watches baseball today. Oh, they weren't throwing as hard. This, that, and the other thing. Oh, please, shut up. Grown men throwing at grown men. We haven't evolved that much in the last 100. Stop it. I don't
Right,
care about.
right.
I don't care about today's gym equipment, and I don't give a shit. All these supposed studs today with their advanced science get hurt all the time. I don't want to hear it. These were grown.
You have to measure everybody against the
Yeah.
level of competition they
Yeah,
played in.
yeah.
It's unfair to
You're not hitting Walter Johnson, okay? Not teams that have a fucking batting average under 260 like every single team. All right, you're not hitting Walter Johnson. Walter Johnson threw hard, really, really effing hard. By the way, he did. He really
right.
did. Yeah, I'm sorry they didn't have radar guns back then to prove all you idiots wrong, but grown men threw the ball hard back in the day.
I
All
mean,
right.
Bob Feller, I bet he was over 100.
He's a blistering fastball. My grandfather used to talk to me about Walter Johnson, and my father used to talk to me about who you just mentioned. These guys threw hard, really hard.
Right.
And when we would watch Tom Seaver, I remember one time I saw Seaver's 300th win with my dad, and I said, "How hard does guy?" And we know Tom Seaver threw hard. Guy had an incredible fastball. I said, "How does he compare to Feller?" And he said they'd be at the same barbecue. All I needed was my father's eyewitness of his own personal eye test.
That's a great way to put it too.
I don't need a radar gun to tell me that. Grown men threw hard. I've seen films of Walter Johnson, and Walter Johnson threw hard. It's like, what are you talking about? Dickey's 1, Elston's 2.
Right.
I can't look past the 348. He's productive. How many didn't he win the MVP a couple of times, Elston?
No, he won one.
He won one. Okay, he won one. All right. Elston was a stud. By the way,
And,
the day that I saw Maris's number retire, they also retired Ellie's. There was a double ceremony. It was really
this
cool.
here's something to think about, Jimmy. And I never really thought about this until this minute. This was Howard's first season not playing under Casey Stengel, who platooned him.
Right. You know what? Sometimes a manager, I'm speaking from my own experience, sometimes a manager can change everything for you. I in my early years, I've bored you before that I played ball for over 20 years. In my early years, we had a manager. We had a manager that just limited our potential. And it was the first 4 seasons, and we all kind of knew it, but nobody ever said anything about it. But I was the one, along with Bart, to say, you know what? No, we need a change. We need a change. And when we got that change, I changed as a ball player. I felt much freer to be my interpretation of a ball player and how I wanted to play and where I should play and how often I should play. I knew what I was capable of. And all the guys on the team felt like a veil had been lifted off their shoulders. So what I'm getting at is that Ralph Houck had to be a breath of fresh air to Elston Howard after Casey. Casey was not always so nice to people. Casey was great, but Casey did play his own favorites, and he was probably thrilled that Casey was out of there. Casey had fallen into disfavor anyway, correct, Benny, for his handling of the 60 World Series, right?
Right, correct.
Whitey Ford wasn't happy with him, correct?
That's why he lost his job.
Yeah, which was probably wrong on paper when you think about it. It was probably wrong to do to him on paper when you think about it. What did he have? 7 championships and 10 pennants? It's like he just lost the World Series. Really? You're going to fire him? But obviously the inmates were upset, and they were important inmates. They were Whitey Ford, the inmates running the asylum. They didn't run the asylum. They just wanted him out of there. And it resulted in 2 straight championships, correct?
Yeah, 61 and 62, Houck's first 2 seasons.
Right. So Ellie obviously felt a weight off his shoulders. Look, my batting average went up 100 points when that fucker was gone. That's all there is to it. I started to hit for power, and I really came into my own. I just was like, oh, thank God that's over with. And I don't know if how it went down with Casey, but mine resulted in basically we're at a bar, and I'm like, you got to go. Next thing you know, we're outside. I'm like, you want to go? You got to go. And that's how he was gone. But a change can do everything for you. I'm putting Elliott at 2. I'm going to put Georgie at 3, obviously. This one's kind of cut and dry, too, isn't it, Benny?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much a no-brainer.
I'm going to put Georgie at 3. And poor old Pat Collins, who did his job, right? I mean, after all, wait till you see the staff that he caught, correct?
Oh, yeah, we're going to get to that in a second here.
I mean, my God, but real quick before we get to the starting pitchers, what is your thoughts on the 27 Yankees, as loaded as they were, to have they're not being mentioned here, but wasn't there another fellow that also shared a lot of the duties at catcher? That lineup had 2 catchers, kind of.
They did. The other guy, let's see, you had Collins, and you had another guy named Johnny Grabowski, who actually played in 70 games and hit 277.
Wow!
And then you had the legendary Benny Bengo.
Right.
Who, he was kind of.
What was his numbers? I'm curious.
He only got 85 at bats. He hit 247.
Okay, all right. So the catchers all pitched in. The second guy had a nice little 277 batting average. Who got the bulk of the rest of the work?
Was 25 ribbies. Yeah, right. They all pitched in. Exactly.
Very, very interesting. And we've seen that a catcher doesn't have to always. Joe Girardi is the one exception in the championships we've seen, because we know Thurman was a stud and a top tier hitter. We know that Georgie was a stud and a multiple-time top-tier hitter and all-star at his position. Joe Girardi was the one ring that we saw in '96 where the catcher was a light-hitting, defensive-first catcher who was also clutch as shit. Because let's face facts, we were sitting on an 18-year hex with the Yankees, and if you want to call it that. When Joe Girardi hit that triple in Game 6 at Yankee Stadium, and we were on our way to breaking the 18-year schneid, you remember that triple, right? What a scrappy little bastard running around the bases in that game, Game 6.
Right.
Who did he hit that off? Did he hit that off Maddox, for God's sakes?
I don't remember.
Fairly sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it came down to Maddox and Jimmy Key in a Game 6.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken. And Jimmy Key was another stud. But,
Oh, yeah.
But the point that a light hitting catcher, if he hits for respectable average and handles his pitching staff and is good with his glove, is just as valuable as anybody else. And Girardi was that exception, and Collins shows it here. But enough about my love for catchers, Benny. I digress.
Okay. No, I mean, what a legacy we have, though. I mean, it's something to talk about.
Yeah.
So what I did here,
I'm at it again, though, Benny. Forgive me. I wonder where Thurman would rank, like his 77 numbers against these guys. Thurman would probably be number 2.
Yeah.
Probably be number 2. I think he put up an 18, 100 RBI, 300 average, whatever season with a Gold Glove.
Pretty close to what Dickey did.
Right. Correct.
All right. So what I did here, and I'm going to read the starting pitchers, though. I have the combined records.
Okay.
And so 27 Yankees, and what I did was I took the top 5 starting pitchers. So you got in 27, 82 wins, 30 losses, 10 shutouts. 39, you got 70 wins, 29, and 10 shutouts. 61, you got 74, 30, and 10 shutouts. And then 98, you got 79, 35, and 7 shutouts. So let's do the 27 Yankees. You got Wade Hoyt.
I'm breaking character, bro. This one's too close. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you think of the Murderers Row, you don't think of the great pitching, but you got Wade Hoyt was 22-7.
Yep.
You got Herb Pennock,
both Hall of Fame,
19-8.
Yep.
Urban Shocker, the late Urban Shocker, 18-6. You had a guy named Dutch Ruther.
Yeah.
13-6.
Yep.
With 3 shutouts, and you got George Pipgrass, 10-3.
I was waiting for Pipgrass. I was about to ask about Pipgrass. Wow. Talk about distribution. And none of them are even close to being a loser.
Right.
What is going on there? Oh, my God. That's insane.
The lowest winning percentage is .684. The lowest.
By the way, Hoyt and Pennock are Hall of Famers for those of you who don't, know about that stuff. Now, they both did great things with other teams as well. Hoyt was a great Cincinnati Red, if I'm not mistaken, and Pennock was a great Boston Red Sox.
Correct.
If I'm not mistaken. But when they were with the Yankees, they were great also. You know what they really were, Benny? They were the Cone and Clemens of their time, right? They come to the Yankees, and good God,
yes, sir.
Did that work out? Holy moly! Wow. Who's next?
All right. So
39?
For the 39 Yankees, you got. Oh, geez. Here's another one. You got Red Rupping at 21-7. 21-7 with 5 shutouts. You got Lefty Gomez, 12-8, which is kind of an offseason. You got Bump Hadley, 12-6. You got Atlee Donald, 13-3, and you got Monty Pearson, 12-5. Their 6th starter, Oral Hildebrand, was 10-4.
10-4. They have a Ramiro Mendoza at 10-4. Like Ramiro Mendoza was like 10-3 on one of those ring teams. I'm wondering if it was 98, but we'll get to that. Damn. So far, the distribution's blowing my mind. And yes, you could say for Gomez, it's an off season, but understand, just like the 27 Yankees, there's 2 Hall of Famers going on here. Ruffing and Gomez, they were great. They were absolutely great. Now, don't forget, Gomez, who's in the Hall of Fame, unless I've missed something, Lefty Gomez, was not an accumulator. He didn't have, I don't even think he had 200 career wins. I want to say he had like 189. It's a guess. But he had incredible control. From what my father told me, he was an ERA guy, and he always was in every damn game that he ever went out there for.
Wait, Jimmy, how many wins did you say he got?
I want to say 189, but I'm taking a stab.
Well, you right through the heart. 189 wins.
Okay, what was the ERA? It's low.
334. But I
Right.
mean, his
No,
ERA plus is 125, which means
right.
he's because it wasn't really a pitcher's era, but he had some
Right.
seasons. Like in the 34 season, he's 26-5 with a 2.33 ERA and
Yes.
6 shutouts.
Yes. Yes. My father told me that he pitched to the scoreboard. He was one of those guys that was always aware of the game and pitched to the scoreboard and would win. You know,
Whitey did that too. And
how many games
Whitey
did he
too
lose in his
did
how
that.
many games did he lose in his career, Benny? He won 189. How many
100.
did he
He
lose?
was 189 and 102.
Thank you.
One of the
He's
best winning
80.
percentages. Yeah,
He's 87 games above 500. Yeah.
right.
Yeah, he pitched to the scoreboard, and when he was dominant, he wasn't a Sandy Koufax, but if you look at his numbers, like what did you say, 26-5? That's Koufax
26 and
numbers.
5.
You know, he was a
Yeah,
lefty,
that
correct?
that is Koufax numbers.
Lefty.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you got two Hall of Famers in that rotation, and you got that lineup that we just went through that's got all those studs. You know, so never mind the manager. We'll get to him in a little bit, but wow, these two teams are really running neck and neck here. Okay, so what
Right,
about
neck and
61?
neck. All right, here's
Did we go to
61.
the
Of course, you got
bullpen? Did we
Whitey,
go to
which
the
is
bull? Oh, we're going to go to the bullpens next. Go ahead. I
no, we're gonna do
digress.
bullpen after. Yeah.
Okay.
We got Whitey at 25-4, winning the Cy Young. You got
Yeah.
Bill Stafford at 14-9, Ralph Terry at 16-3, Raleigh Sheldon, I think that was his rookie season, 11-5, and then you had Bud Daly 8-9. So, other than Whitey, I mean, Whitey was lights out, and I think that was Whitey's first season, not under Casey, and he wins the Cy Young.
Yeah, Whitey was set free too. You know, it's funny. I guess it got to the point. Look, we've seen it get to the point in other sports, like where a tough ass coach runs his course, right?
Right.
And it gets to the point where unfortunately, in today's day and age, it happens a lot quicker. In Casey's day, Casey was the manager for over a decade, correct? It went on much longer than it does today. Today, when you see a hard ass, I'll give you a hockey example. John Tortorella, great coach, fucking ball buster. Either you become what he expects out of you, and you become the image of what he sees a hockey team to be, or you get the fuck out. He went from being able to hold jobs for 5 years plus and have good success to now it's like 2 years, and the kids revolt and they can't handle him. Casey was like that. Obviously, he was obviously a hard ass to certain people, and not only did Elston Howard explode, so did Whitey. I guess it was the right move.
Whitey was getting 32, 33 starts a year under Casey, but under Houck, he got the ball.
There's only one Hall of
starts.
Famer there's only one Hall of Famer in this rotation. Very interesting rest of the staff. I know Terry was probably the next sexy name, right?
Yeah, 16-3.
Right.
And I think Terry did have a Cy Young, didn't he, in his career? I believe he did.
Yeah. No, he had his moments. Yeah. Okay, so what do we got for the 98?
All right, so we got Andy Pettitte, 16-11. You got Wells at 18-4, came in third in the Cy Young. You got Cone, 20-7, came in fourth in the Cy Young. And Wells threw 5 shutouts, by the way. You got Arabu at 13-9. And you got Orlando Hernandez at 12-4.
Oh.
12-4, 21 starts. That's a nice season. He came in fourth in the Rookie of the Year.
Oh.
I think this is the toughest one so far.
This is driving me insane.
Yeah, this one's a tough one.
This is hard.
That's what she said.
This is really this. Have we had an adult film reference today yet, Benny? I guess we've got one
we
now.
did. We already did.
You did in the intro. You always do in the intro. I
took care of that right in the beginning. Yes.
You got an extra one in tonight. Very good.
I had to. Yeah.
Yep. Oh boy, bro. Oh, this is brutal, Ben. This is brutal.
It's very close. I think the first two, the
All right.
27 and the 39, are like really, it's a toss up.
You might not agree with me then. Okay, I think I've got an order I can live with.
All right, let's hear it.
But it's painful. It's painful, but I have to be responsible about it. The greatest distribution of wealth of the entire staffs of everybody you just mentioned is the 1998 New York Yankees. Do you realize what you mentioned there and the kind of seasons that everybody had that season?
Oh yeah.
It's just too loaded. It's loaded. I believe that Andy Pettitte is a Hall of Famer. I know he's not in yet, but I believe he is.
He'll I think he'll be in our lifetime.
I believe that David Cone is a Hall of Famer. And I would like to see a Veterans Committee put him in one day, because you're not going to tell me that for over a decade David Cone was not one of the best 5 pitchers in baseball.
Of course he was.
He was. Don't forget that the last pitcher you mentioned on the 98, with all those guys you mentioned, and by the way, David Wells threw how many shutouts and went 18
Five
and 4?
shutouts.
You know what I mean? You just named all those guys. The miserable failure, Irabu, is 13 and 9 that year, by the way.
Right.
Let me mention that too. The 98 Yankees were a bulldozer, but the last guy you mentioned was the best one of them all. From the moment that season, from the moment he came off that boat and escaped that country and took a Yankee uniform and put it on. And oddly enough, he's the one that stopped the only potential bleeding in the 98 playoffs when Knobloch stood there while the ball rolled around and the Indians ran around the bases to take a 2-1 lead in the 1998 American League Championship Series. El Duque was basically like Cy Young came off a boat, and they just couldn't touch him at all. That giant leg kick. No one had ever seen anything quite like him, and no one's ever seen anything quite like him since. The first few years of El Duque in a Yankee uniform was absolute dominance. Absolute dominance. No
12
one knew
and 4 and 21 starts.
No one knew what to do with him, and I made a point to get out to Yankee Stadium. He pitched a game that year against the Seattle Mariners lineup that consisted of the guys that you know it consisted of. You got Griffey Jr. in that lineup. You got Edgar Martinez. You got Jay Buhner. You got the lineup was loaded, and he threw a shutout. He whiffed them left and right, and the Yankees put like an 8 spot on the board. We were never in doubt. He just took them out with that big leg kick. I was watching it from left field. I had a full view of his motion. I'm like, this guy, he was the most awesome thing to watch as far as his pitching movement since Louis Tiant. He threw
oh my God,
so much.
You're scaring me now, because I was just going to say that he reminds me of a guy who came up for the Cleveland Indians in 1964, and I think he went 9 and 3. Yeah, and I mean, just a phenomenal pitcher.
Yeah,
very much reminded me of Tiant.
They couldn't touch him. He was an absolute winner, and he continued to be a winner for the Yankees as long as he was there. It was just you go back to distribution, and I do look past the fact that we are judging this by seasons. And while the other squads might have had Hall of Famers or this, that, and the other, the distribution amongst the 1998 Yankee pitching staff is just enormous.
Right.
It's enormous. When your true afterthought is Irabu, and he's 13 and 9.
13 and 9, yeah.
And he didn't even get a spot in the postseason. Remember, they didn't even use him. They didn't even send him out there.
Didn't need him
because they had El Duque. When you've got Pettitte and you've got Cone and you've got Wells and you've got El Duque, what you have is a team that results in 125 wins, 50 losses, postseason included. That's 75 games over 500. That's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. No. So I go with them at number 1. Out of character again. Back to number 2. I'm going to lean towards the 27 Yankees.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I'm going to lean towards the 27 Yankees. Hoyt and Pennock to me are just, can't look past them or the years that they both had. The reason why I put them above the 39 team, who I'm going to put it number 3. Is because of Gomez had a slightly, as you pointed out when we were bringing up numbers, a slightly lesser year as the number 2 than Hoyt and Pennock had together as 1 and 2.
No, that's a good assessment.
So, and the distribution for both those teams was also amazing. The rest of the staff, everybody's chipping in. You got a guy with 12 wins, you got a guy with 10 wins, you got a guy with, and they're all winners. All these staffs that we're judging, everyone's a winner. It's ridiculous. So I'm going to go with 27 at number 2. I'm going to go with 39 at number 3. Keep in mind, and you'll probably notice, I'm not just jumping at the most wins or whatever. I'm looking at the distribution. And what kind of dominance they had in the postseason and regular season also. I mean, it is a seasonal judging thing going on here.
Yeah, yeah.
And I got to go at 61 at number 4 because here's just the facts. I'll take my chances any day on the 98 squad being better than Whitey Ford, and then your option number 2 is Ralph Terry. I think that the 98 Yankees are knocking you.
Yeah, you match
all
up to
over.
one, so you match up the aces, and maybe you give an edge to Whitey over Cohen. But then then
right,
2 through 5.
Right. Yeah. No. It's just,
I take yeah.
And if you catch Cohen on a good night, Whitey might even be in trouble. You know what I'm saying? It's just it's no. The Yankee batting order would just annihilate that rest of that squad. They would annihilate them. I think we'd find a way to deal with Roger Maris. That's what I'm saying about the 98 pitching staff. They deal with him.
All right. So now I got the closer.
Okay.
And I was surprised. So you got Wilcie Moore, who I had heard of him, but you're talking about a season.
My hero.
19-7, 13 saves in 27. Nobody was saving games in 1927. 39, you got Johnny Murphy, 3-6, but 19 saves. And then you have, Louis Arroyo was that one season, man, he was lights out. 15-5, 29 saves. And then, of course, you got Mo, 3-0, 36 saves.
It's hilarious. When I look at Mo, I'm like, wow, what a nice, modest season for Mo, right? 36 saves,
only 36 saves.
Yeah, and you know that he was lights out every single time. You know it. Interesting. Well, it's got to go back to the eyewitness tests, and we were fortunate enough to watch Mariano Rivera. This is It's obvious who's closing this game. It's Mariano Rivera, one way or the other. Even judging it by the season, I'm sorry, it's Mariano Rivera. The end. He's number 1. Here comes my hero, though, Wilcie Moore. How do you win 19 ball games coming out of the pen?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's an incredible year. That really is. You're the guy coming out of the pen's got 19 wins. I think the 27 Yankees were 110-44. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
It's just ridiculous. Well, here's 19 of those wins. What does that account for, Benny? You're an accountant. 19 wins out of 110. Is he knocking on the 20% door or getting close?
Very close. Yep.
Oh my God, that's a hell of a season. I'm going to give Louis number 3. To be fair, right?
And that was, in 1961, nobody was saving 29 games.
He's a forgotten Yankee a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Right? That's a great job.
That was it for him pretty much. That one season, but man, what a season.
Oh, really? He didn't really do much otherwise?
No, he let me see. He was stuck around for a few years, but nothing like that.
Just one big year. Interesting. I thought he had a pitch for at least a decade. He didn't hang around for a decade in Major League.
Louis Arroyo, 2 World Series. So he knocked around. He only played with the Yankees for 4 seasons, and it looks like he was 5-1 for the 60 Yankees with 17 saves. I'm sorry, that's 7 saves. But yeah, that 61. He's 15-5, 2.19 ERA. Pitched 119 innings as a reliever.
Wow.
But he's doing a lot of two inning saves.
Right.
But I think he must have got hurt after that because the next season he's 1-3 with a 4.81 ERA, and then and he's gone the year after that.
Right. Wow, this is really some great season he had then, huh?
Yeah, that was his landmark season.
This is a great season.
Came in 6th in the MVP.
Wow, I can't put him above Wilcie Moore though. I can't do it.
No, you can't.
I'm not putting him above Mariano either. Nobody goes above Mariano. I don't care.
So you got Mo, Wilcie, Louis, and then you got Murphy.
Right.
Okay.
Who's actually probably an underappreciated Yankee too. I wouldn't be surprised if he got a bunch of rings himself.
Johnny Murphy?
Yeah,
Let's see.
yeah, he's a bit of a mystery. My father would mention him once in a while. I know that much.
I remember him as a kid reading Yogi Berra's book, and he was mentioned in there, Johnny Murphy. Yeah, he played, let's see. Played 13 years.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, 13 years. All but, and he was in the military for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So not bad, 93 and 53.
That's good.
Yeah, ERA 3.50, not bad. An ERA plus of 117, so he was better than the pack.
Right.
And he had, at that time, 107 saves. It was a lot of saves.
Oh, of course it was. The
In that
closer
era.
role had not been perfected or defined yet. Yeah, no, he was good. He was good.
And let's
Obviously.
see. In the postseason,
Yeah.
2-0. He was in
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4. He was in 6 series. He was 2-0, ERA 1.10.
Boy, oh boy. Yeah,
So
he deserves a lot. He deserves a lot of praise, and he's never talked about.
Nope. That's our number 4 guy.
Right. Yankees
Right,
strike again, man. Plethora of riches.
Let's see. I'm gonna go back here. Let's do this. Come on. Remove. I'm gonna go back. Might have to move up one. Nope, one more. There we go. The bench. All right. So let's do this. I think what I'm gonna have to do is I got the combined stats and I'll read those off, but then I'll go back to each one.
Okay.
And I'll give you a flavor of who was on the bench.
Got it.
Let's see. All right. So 27 Yankees, combined bench, 4 homers, 113, 267.
Okay.
You got 13 homers, 153. Ribbies, 251. Then you got the 61 Yankees, 32 homers, 107. Ribbies, 244. And then you got the 98, you got 23 homers, 148 ribbies, 279 average.
All
right, so let's see. We got
for that's rough.
7 Yankees. We got. Yep, we got Ray Morehart, a second baseman. Johnny Grabowski. I'm trying to see. Ben Paschal played in the outfield. He had 317. Paschal.
Okay.
But, yeah, mostly like Frederick Durst. Wasn't he related to the rock star?
Yeah, he was in Limp Bizkit. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Damn. He stuck around for a long time. But
yeah. No wonder he sounds like shit on those records.
He was, 118 by then?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
just one of those days.
Yeah. Bunch of no names. Nobody really stands out. Nobody has anything. But obviously they got the job done.
They did get the job done. They have 267 average, so they did okay for bench players, and they knocked in over 100 runs collectively. They're not embarrassing themselves. They didn't hit for power, but that wasn't expected of a bench, for God's sakes, especially.
Well, you got 2 guys combined had 107 home runs. I think that was all right. They got a pass.
Right. Exactly.
1939. Got a lot of. Oh wow. So they got so the bench for 39 includes Tommy Henrich rather, reliable.
Yep.
Which now in 99 games, you talk about contributing, 9 homers, 57 ribbies, 277 rather. Another guy that I've heard of, but not really another unsung Yankee, Buddy Rozar. 276.
All right.
Let me see. Geez, even Red Ruffing, the pitcher, hit 307 that year with 20 ribbies.
Wow. That's actually pretty amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it for, I'm trying to think, you got all the pitchers, okay.
They had a very loaded lineup.
So Henrich, when you got a guy like Tommy Henrich coming off the bench, and that guy was, you talk about clutch. That guy was clutch.
Yeah, my father talked about him all the time. He was one of those names I always heard about.
All right, let's
Loaded.
look at 61. I know you're gonna 61. One of the reasons why they have all those home runs is because one of the bench guys is John Blanchard,
right?
Who I think hit 21 all by himself. Yeah, John Blanchard, who was I guess technically the third string catcher, 21 homers, 54 ribbies, 305 batting average.
Nice.
Yep.
Who else?
You got Hector Lopez, 322 and 222. You got Bob Serve, who was towards the end of his career, 6 homers, 20 ribbies, 271. Billy Gardner. You got that's pretty much it. But Blanchard, 21 homers as a third string within 243 at bats, 21 homers.
Nice.
Yeah.
He never caught that. He never caught that lightning in a bottle really after that, as far as that though, right? Because that's over 40 home runs. I mean,
easily.
Yeah.
Let's see. I like the 98 bench though.
Yeah, here we go. I can't wait to hear this.
98 bench is loaded.
Yep. I'm sure it is.
That's 98 New York Yankees. All right. Yeah, you got Tim Raines with 5 homers, 47 ribbies, hitting 290. You got Girardi at 276.
Yep.
You got Chili Davis. Chili Davis hitting 291. You got some guy named Shane Spencer, 67 at bats, 10 homers, 27 ribbies, 373. Yep. You get that kind of pop up your bench.
You better tell me about Ricky Leday while you're at it.
Ricky Leday.
Ricky was good too when he came up that year.
Yeah, homer, 12 ribbies, 241.
Yeah, but then he did real good in the postseason. They put him out there. He played in the postseason, Ricky Leday. He had some clutch at bats. I remember that.
Even a guy like Homer Bush, 71 at bats, 27 hits, 380, hit 380 off the bench. You got a 380 and a 373 guy off the bench.
Yep. Where did Strawberry come into this? Because I know he got sick. But Strawberry had regular season.
They actually list him as the DH, actually.
Okay, but we know that he was he would come off the bench. So what was Darrell's numbers that year?
24, 57, and 247.
Stop. We can stop right there. The greatest bench on this list is the 98 Yankees.
Oh yeah. This one's easy.
Just stop. The bottom line is when you're bringing, look, Tim Raines is a Hall of Famer. He's coming off our bench hitting 290. Darryl Strawberry was a 300-plus career home run hitter. Chili Davis.
Chili Davis is no slouch.
Chili Davis had a great career. Chili Davis was a stud. Didn't he win championships with the Twins?
Yes.
Chili Davis was a stud. And then those two kids came up at the end of the season, and they couldn't have been more different from each other, but they were both very important that year. Spencer went on a Mickey Mantle tear there. Like you said, those 10 home runs basically in a month. He came around in August just in time to be part of the postseason right before the cutoff, and hit like Mickey Mantle. It's like, what is this kid doing? Home run every time he came up. And Leday was this nice little young, speedy ball player that what I liked about him that particular year was he'd slash the ball the other way. He was a left-handed hitter. He was slicing doubles and stuff. I was like, okay, that bench was so loaded. Without that loaded bench, it's not 114 wins. That team was really a team. Everything about that team was great. And the bench was just as great as every other component that made that team so damn dominant. Oh my God. So they're number one to me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go at number 2 with the 39 squad.
Okay.
You got Tommy Henrik coming off the bench, and I just felt like there was enough production there and more all-around contributions from the bench, in my opinion. That to me is the next strongest. How many RBIs did they wind up with? Plus, they had some power.
Right. Yeah, let me go back.
They would be my number 2. I would go with them at number 2. I don't know how you feel about that, but I think the
No,
production is there.
I'll agree with that. So you saying the 39?
Yeah, because the production is there. Look at the ribbies compared to to who I'm reserving for 3 and 4. Now I'm going to go with the 61 Yankees at number 3 because you are talking about Blanchard, and I feel that there was more pop coming off the bench. And I'm going to rank the 27 Yankees at 4th. They got the job done, but it was much more light hitting, if you know what I'm trying to get at here.
Right,
So
right.
I got the 98 Yankees, then I got the 39 Yankees with Tommy Hendrick coming off the bench, and then the 61 team with Blanchard and company.
And then you got the 29 Yankees. Yeah, I got you. All
Yeah.
right, so we're up down to the last category. Believe it or not.
All right.
Manager.
Oh boy.
Miller Huggins, 110 and 44. I mean, no slouches here. Joe McCarthy, 106 and 45.
Mm-hmm.
106?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you got 61 Houck, 109 and 53, and 98. You got Torrey, 114 and 48.
Okay, so here's the real question. Are we going to stay consistent with the theme of this show tonight and judge it by the season? Or are we going to are we going to like think about who's really truly the greatest, right, Benny? So what are we doing here? We got to stay consistent, right?
We got to be true and stay to the season.
Joe Torre wins this.
Yeah.
You cannot go 125 and 50 and not win this. You can't. There's no way around it. There's really no way around it. It has to be Joe Torre's 1998 Yankees because the job that he did that year was just and look at all the names that were on the 98 Yankees, how he was able to balance all of that. He made to have a great bench, you've got to have happy players, right, Benny? You got to have players that have bought into the idea that I'm part of the team. I'm not the starter, but I'm part of the team, and I'm going to contribute every time I get a chance, and I'm going to have a good attitude. And he did that. He did that for Tim Raines, Darryl Strawberry, Chili Davis, and then balanced 2 kids coming in from the minor leagues with all their hopes and dreams ahead of them, and managed to get the most out of them.
You guys had a great interview last night with the maestro. I think Torre was the maestro.
Yeah. He was the perfect manager for what we needed, And,
I have no problem with him as number 1.
Yeah, I have to go with him. You have to go with Miller at number 2. You have to. You have to go with Miller Huggins. That was the measuring stick for how many decades was the 2017 and the 110 wins and 44 losses. It's just complete dominance. Plus they swept the World Series. So what does that make them? 114 and 40. Did they even have a pennant back in those days? I'm trying to remember.
They were 114 and 44. Yeah, 70 games over 500.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Now, what's the disparity between these two? 3 wins, huh? Nope. I'm gonna break it here, and I'm gonna say that the 39 team had the next best manager, despite
Yep.
Yeah. I'm going with Joe McCarthy on that 39 season. Don't forget that Joe McCarthy, unlike Ralph Houck's got a fresh slate off a manager that wasn't. Everyone wanted him gone. So when Houck walks in, he's walking into something. That at least is going to give him an advantage with the boys in the clubhouse. McCarthy is facing Lou Gehrig dying.
Yeah.
Right, Ben?
Yeah, 39. That was the year. He's
faced with the face of his team. The captain of his team is really Lou Gehrig. I mean, we know that the captaincy didn't come back until Thurman. He's faced with that, and yet somehow the team musters through it all and does what they do. To be discussed amongst the greatest of all time. And I've always found it interesting that what if Lou had not gotten sick? Where does that place the 39 Yankees in all of this discussion?
Yeah, we might be.
Do you understand what I'm getting at?
Yep.
So the 3 extra wins be damned. I'm going to give that to Joe McCarthy 3rd. If we were ranking body of work, Joe McCarthy's the greatest manager on this list. Let's just get that out of the way.
Oh, absolutely. That there's no question about that.
And 4th goes to Ralph Houck. And if you're pronouncing the managerial job of the 61 Yankees to be fourth on this list once again, boy, are we fucking spoiled. It's really no way around that. We're spoiled, right?
Well, I'm tabulating the results as we're speaking.
Oh, you God, this should be
Oh,
interesting.
I'm pretty quick. We
What
don't need.
did you give them? Did you give them each a point for winning something? How'd you do it by that? You know.
No, I gave I assigned the same thing. Tori gets 1 point,
Right.
and
I got you.
Hal gets 4 points.
I got you.
So let's see, 5, 7, 8, 12, 15, 18, 21. Wow. One more time. 4, 7, 10, 17, 18, 20. All right.
So the fewest points wins this, is what you're telling me.
Yep. So
Okay.
our greatest team of all time,
Okay.
based on our evaluation, is the 1998 Yankees.
Interesting. Do you have the full scores as far as who had the most points and the least
Yeah, well,
points?
they had 25 points, which is the
Okay.
least, right?
Right.
Second place is the 27 Yankees.
27. Right.
Right,
Okay.
with 29 points. Very close is the 39 Yankees with 30 points.
Okay.
And then last but not least is the 61 with 36.
Interesting. Wow.
I think that's a pretty good analysis, don't you?
It makes perfect sense to me. It really does. I didn't think, and the best part about this whole thing we did, we really only talked about this yesterday, and we wound up doing it today. And I didn't even think to myself how this would turn out before we even clicked the camera on, because I like to keep things organic. Yeah, I can see it being that list, exactly
I
that
mean, you
list.
literally did not see these numbers until what, like pretty much showtime, right?
Yep, correct. Picked up
So
the
you didn't
script.
have any time to determine any biases. You just,
No,
you reacted to the numbers
right.
as I shot them out.
Right, right. And like we said, all four of these teams are all amazing, but it makes complete sense to me that this is how it turned out. The 98
Yeah.
Yankees were just the greatest of all time, supplanting the greatest of all time 27 Yankees. And in the old days, the discussion before the 98 Yankees was always the 27, the 39, and the 61 teams. And I always
Now,
felt that the 39 team was next after the Murderers Row. And on top of it, they won four in a row,
right.
you know? Every team that we've discussed here was part of a run, correct? And what I mean by that is 27, 28. So you had multiple championships during the run. 36, 37, 38,
You
39,
had
multiple
4 in a row.
championships.
You had
61, 62.
right.
And then in the Yankees case, when we were so spoiled with Jeter and company, 98, 99, 2000.
Yeah, I mean the 61 they're part of. I mean, they won 5 American League pennants in a row from 60 to
Yes, they did.
64. They
Yes,
just
they did.
they weren't very good at, they lost the 60 and then the 63 and 64 series. But
Correct.
five pennants in a row, that's nothing to,
No, that's dominance.
that's
You know,
that's a
I mean,
dynasty.
if people would probably try to tell you, well, the Mets had the better decade. No, they didn't.
Oh, please.
We got two championships and five straight pennants in the
Right.
mid 60s up to the mid 60s. It's what happened after that. The Mets one championship was very sexy, of course. It's the Miracle Mets, but you didn't have the better decade. Calm down, you
No.
know. Five
No.
pennants and two championships still will trump one pennant and one championship. I'm sorry.
Now, dare we do this in the future? And
Yeah.
now that we have a champion, 1998 Yankees, do we go back and maybe have them face the 70s? What year? The big red machine, 76 Reds.
Oh, I would love that because the pitching staff would just, I don't think that the Reds had the pitching. I think that the Yankees had the bench. I think that the Yankees had the hitters. I think that the
No,
Yankees had the pitching. I
the
think the
Reds
Yankees had the
honestly had a
closer.
bunch of no-name pitchers.
Right.
Who you had a Jack Billingham who was a decent pitcher, but nobody's ever bringing him up for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and the other key is that the Yankees had Catfish Hunter and nobody else. I mean, and I'm not trying to put down Doc Ellis, and I'm not trying to put down what else was going. I don't even think Doc Ellis was there. Who was on the '76 pitching staff after? Was it Doc Ellis? He might have been one of them.
Yeah.
Outside of Catfish, there was nobody. Ron Guidry was right around the corner, but he wasn't there yet. And
the Reds had a decent bullpen. I will give them that.
Right. But if I'm sending out David Cohn and Roger, and not Roger, but if I'm sending out David Cohn and Andy Pettit, and I'm sending out El Duque and David Wells, I'm feeling pretty good about with Mariano in the pen. And let's not forget the middle relief, which we really didn't discuss much about, but the Stanton to Nelson to Rivera thing was untouchable.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, I mean, that's
I forget what the record was. It ahead after 7 innings or 6
well, they
innings.
had one season where they were 79-2 with a
That's
lead
crazy.
after 6 innings.
That's crazy.
What are we talking about here? The Reds lineup was very powerful, but I think that the Yankees pitching and their lineup would have found a way with their bench and their
Yeah.
closer. Nah, come on, they would have found a way to do that. We'll have to do that because I want
Yeah.
to watch the Yankees slaughter them.
Yeah. I think that would be a very, and I mean, I got to tell you though, I really had fun with this. How about you?
Oh, this was great. This was everything I love about baseball. This was history and competition.
Now, were you surprised with the outcome?
No. No, I felt it would be the 98 Yankees. The only one that was going to give them a run for the money was the 27 Yankees in my mind, and that's how it turned out mathematically. Everything makes sense to me. It really does. And it's not like we played it by the boards and we played it safe. We really did judge it season by season because it's very easy to go Tony Lazzari over Joe Gordon. It's very easy to do that.
Right.
Very easy. But you can't. You shouldn't. If you're comparing the seasons, you can't do that. You shouldn't do that. It's got to be for the season itself, which is why Joe Torre.
We stayed true to that for the whole thing, I think.
Which is why Joe Torre wins over Joe McCarthy in that particular case. You know, if you're going to pick the greater body of work, it's obviously Joe McCarthy. But we're talking about
we have to be objective. If Joe McCarthy is 3 out of 4,
I think we were very fair.
I do too. I do too.
At the end of the day,
really, we gave it a lot of thought. I mean, we're an hour and 32 into it, so we didn't rush through it.
At first I was like, geez, this is going quick. And now it's like, and look at it now. And I hope that this really gets to the eyes and ears of all baseball fans who love the history of the game. Because this was a blast.
I'd be curious, and I would be very, I would love if somebody watched this and then, wanted to debate us on it. And, without, the typical Facebook insults and making it personal. Just keep it to the facts. Where do you think we were off?
Right. Yeah, that would be great. Everybody's got opinions. It's all how you present it, basically.
Right. Yeah.
These are opinions.
I'm very, very interested in respectful, well-informed. It's like Maven. He likes a well manicured landing strip, right?
Yeah. Well manicured. I and unfortunately, because of the passage of time, there's nobody here to tell us. But I'm sure that they would if they could. There is no way the 98 Yankees are better than the 27 Yankees because I saw them, the 27 Yankees, and unfortunately they're all gone now, those folks. But they would be 100% valid to argue that the 27 Yankees are the greatest team of all time. There's a reason why they were considered the greatest team of all time for how many decades. So, nobody's wrong here. I just found it fascinating that when you break it down position, it's almost like doing great albums track by track. You might like one album more than the other album, but when you go track by track against each other, you start to realize, wait a minute, this album
I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, exactly. It's like how come this album got more than this album? I like this album more. So that's how I looked at it.
I think we approached it in a pretty rational way. I think our approach was very good, very sound. I mean, how else can you do it? I mean,
well, that's the way to do it. Look, we handled it like accountants. What can I say?
Yeah, there you go. Right, exactly.
It's been a blast.
No, it has been. So, guys, another great episode of the Baseball Bums and the Record Books. If you love chatting about the great game of baseball, you're definitely in the right place. And if you're looking for some great wrestling and even some epic non-wrestling content, please hit the like and subscribe button and become a part of the Monty and the Farrow family. To quote the great Sylvester Stewart of Sly and the Family Stone, it's a family affair. Mr. Farrow, would you do the honors and take us home?
You've been watching the Baseball Bums. Join us next week when we take you higher. Did you see what I did there, Sly and the Family Stone?
Boom, shakalaka-laka.
Woodstock, baby. Later.